And look at Randy Orton slithering.
Oh, watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
KO! Here's the cover.
Hey, what's up guys? And we're back here today with a video on the, well, beginning of the British light tanks that were introduced today, as they were announced last week. But we're going to be starting with the tier 7 in the line, and I will eventually progress up to the tier 10. I currently have the tier 9 unlocked and fully equipped after this morning's grinding session over on Twitch. But yeah, eventually we will get to the tier 10, but for now we're going to start off with the setter. Now, I guess I should preface this whole video and this whole series by just saying, are these tanks really worth it? Is the tier 10 really worth it? If you're looking for the best tier 10 light or anything that's really competitive, no, not really. Even with the buff they got in ammo, all of these tanks did get increased ammo loadouts from the PC versions, such as the setter got, I believe it's 50 rounds of ammo compared to the 35 it has on PC. And just for example, the Manticore went from 20 rounds on PC to 35 rounds on Xbox and PlayStation. So they did get a little bit of a buff, so they're a little technically better than the PC variants in terms of ammo capacity. So that is a good thing. I'm happy with that. But these tanks probably still need a little bit more love in the long term, in terms of probably DPM. That would be the minimum, I would think. It doesn't have to be crazy because their role is to be the passive scouts, and hopefully with the removal of or the ceasing of service for the 360 in July, we'll get more maps and concealment that'll work more consistently, so these tanks could be a little more viable in the game in terms of that passive scouting kind of role they're kind of built for overall. But like I said, if you're looking for the best tier 10 light tank or anything like that, this isn't really the line to do it. Panzerwagon and Sheridan are definitely the line for that, or T1 or LT. Anything like that is much better for if that's what you're looking for. So just kind of keep that in mind when looking at these videos. But I'm still going to be not singing the praises, but just highlighting what is kind of good about these tanks. And obviously there's some negatives, otherwise I would be saying that. So we're starting with the setter, and so far you can kind of see that this thing isn't that fast. It only tops out at 58 kilometers per hour. You guys say, I say it's passive scout. Why aren't you running binos and camera net? Simply put, a couple of reasons I guess is I personally don't play very passively in terms of when I'm playing light tanks. As you can see with this game, is I'm pretty much kind of active scouting on Baja here, but also, a lot of the maps currently, like I said, don't really favor passive scouting. I got maybe Malinowka, Proc, and a couple other games where I'm playing the British Lights today that you could maybe passive scout it in. But most of the maps that we currently have are better suited for that more, I'll say, active role. So just doing the standard rammer optics and vert stabs. Could do bind or vents, I think, instead, to kind of increase that DPM a little bit if you wanted to. I chose not to do that. I just went vert stabs, optics, and the rammer. Pretty standard setup for pretty much all my lights and mediums that I play. So kind of going with that. Now what are you looking at with the setter at the tier 7? Again, looking at it, it has a 75mm gun with a 1.8 second aim time, which is good. That's a good aspect of it. And that's the one thing that also with the 75 and most of the guns on these that I've known so far playing today is they have pretty good pen values for light tanks. This one has 180 on the AP and about 220 on the APCR, which is nice. Most tier 7 light tanks average around 150 pen, give or take, that are not premium tanks, and even some of the premium tanks do as well. So it is above standard in that aspect, I guess. And it also is, this one's kind of unique for the line, as you see I'm actually carrying high explosive rounds on this one. And that's because they're kind of like HESH rounds, HEP rounds. They actually have 75 millimeters of pen, which increase your alpha up to a whopping 175. Oof, I know. But it is nice to bring a couple of them because that increased pen does come in handy. And you'll see a few of that in these videos, I think, of me using those HEP or HESH round type ammunition. So, but the tier 7 is the only one that gets that. The other ones just have kind of standard AG rounds. Which is a little disappointing. It would be nice if these got HESH rounds all the way up to the tier 10, but they don't. And the pen drops back down to like 45, 42 on the tier 8. I believe. So kind of keep that in mind. Again, the aim time is pretty good on the gun, 1.8 seconds on this one. 10 rounds a minute, which sounds on paper like it's really good, but you can kind of see at 135 alpha. It's about a 5-second reload, which is not great as you're putting those HESH rounds on the Borsig here. It's trying to put them to work a little bit and see if we can increase that alpha just a little tiny bit for us. And we're taking down, playing a little bit of chicken there. But so far, I've been kind of enjoying these tanks, but again, I think it's more because I don't have many tank lines left to grind, and I always like playing scout tanks. It's always obvious on this channel. I just like to playstyle all of them, regardless if they're the best competitively on paper or not. So, if you aren't concerned too much about is it the best tank ever, blah blah blah, and you're just looking for something to grind, they're still okay. I mean, they're not great. They're definitely not. There's definitely better tanks at all the tiers, but it's something new and kind of not refreshing, but something new to play. I know that may sound like the cop-out that, hey, you should go get these tanks. No, I'm not saying that, but if you're looking for, you enjoy scouts or anything like that, I still have been liking them to a certain extent on some levels. I've had some pretty good games, especially in the tier 8, which you'll see that probably tomorrow maybe. With the LHM TV or the Let Me Have My TV. I don't know. It needs a better name. But the tier 8 in this line had a really, really good game today on stream. So you'll see that tomorrow, more than likely, I hope. So another thing, as I think I've kind of touched on, the setter and kind of this entire line, at least I'm aware of so far, it gets better tier 8, so maybe improve as you go up in tiers. This thing's a little sluggish in terms of getting up its whopping top speed of 58 kilometers per hour, which is kind of mediocre for light tanks. But again, it's not designed for active scouting. It's not really its main goal. These tanks are very suited to that passive role. So if you enjoy the passive kind of scouting role, go for it. But just kind of keep that in mind. And I had to keep myself in mind with that in terms of, hey, these tanks aren't that great at fighting other scouts. And you're really going to struggle when there aren't just setters as the light tanks in the game anymore. So right now it's not too bad because most of the other light tanks are in this branch that you're going to see. But as the new tank syndrome kind of wears off, you're going to be fighting Lycans, Alpha Panthers, and stuff like that, which you really want to avoid because, as I had to find out a couple of times the hard way, fighting other light tanks in these tanks is not a good idea. It's really a bad idea. If you can avoid it, I generally recommend it because not only, and you can kind of pick up on this as you look at these tanks, they don't weigh anything. I think I saw where the tier 7 and all the way through the tier 10, they vary in weight from like 7 to 12 tons at the max. So if you get into a brawl with something like an LTTB, really anything that has a little bit of weight to its ass, you're going to get punished for it severely. If you get ran by like a T-54 lightweight in the tier 8, you're going to lose a lot of hit points, and you're not going to have any control of your tank. So just kind of bear that in mind and try to play a little more passively. You're going to see me get into a little bit of a pickle in this game, actually, as we're on Westfield North Spawn. Surprise, we had a good game on Westfield North Spawn in a light tank. But you see here, even I'm just trying to avoid confrontation here. I don't want to deal with it. And here's where this shit kind of hits the fan. And now we're having some issues with getting yelled at by people who, I don't know. Just I have them in a light tank, so I'm gonna go fast. And I honestly thought my game was over at this point. I'm getting yellowed by 3 tanks, and I'm just trying to be as evasive as possible. Again, these things don't turn well either. So these kind of dogfights in these light tanks, it's not ideal. And you can see the turret burst isn't good either. They're not meant for that kind of active, going all over the place like you see in my LTTB videos. They're just not. You just have to hope that this doesn't happen to you, and try to put yourself in situations where this doesn't. There's a very small risk of it, I guess is the best way to put it. So, another thing which I thought was kind of funny when looking at these, they have excellent concealment, obviously with that passive roll, almost on par with like the ELC even, in terms of concealment. But they kind of lack in view range, at least the Tier 7 does from what I can see. Tier 7 only has 370 meters view range base, which is low even compared to other Tier 7 light tanks. So stuff like the T-71 variants, the Tech Tree ones, not the Lycan, the Tech Tree ones have 390 meters view range. The Awful Panther has 400 meters view range. The Lycan has 400 meters view range. Granted, it gets Tier 8 preferential matchmaking and never would be top tier. You could still run into it in the setter. So just bear that in mind that your view range itself isn't that great in this tank. I think it gets slightly better as you go up. The Tier 8 only has 380, but that's still kind of more workable. And you can get a little closer because of the concealment, but you also getting a better crew in these is much appreciated. And something you may pay attention to if you look at me trying to aim at people, and this is something we've picked up on the stream very quickly, is they have decent gun depression, but they don't have any gun elevation because of where the turret is mounted in the rear. So it can be kind of awkward to get the gun on target when you're on the side of a hill like this. So just kind of another thing that's a little awkward to play about these things. And I know I'm not doing a really good job of trying to sell you to play these, and I'm not trying to. Giving you the bare bones honest fact about what these tanks are like. I may make them look like super amazing. I try not to come off as that. I do have good games in these things, but I try to give you guys the straight facts that, yeah, these are probably not the most competitive light tanks in the game, or any tank in the game. They're very much at the bottom tier of scouts, even with the slight ammo, or the increased ammo buffs that we got for them. So I'm not trying to sell them, you know that. And you can see it's not very fast going uphill. We're just being lucky here as we're trying to pull this game back on Westfield. It's been a pretty entertaining game. I haven't talked much about the gameplay of this because just simply I've been talking about the scouts and what I think of them so far, I guess. But I do appreciate Wargaming actually increasing the ammo loadout. They didn't have to do that. We could have had these with the PC values. So it is nice to see that. I've been pretty happy with what they've been doing lately, the past couple months since Valor, the name change from Mercenaries to Valor for their console. So kudos to them for that kind of stuff. Still some areas to work on, obviously, I think, but it's just my opinion. But oh well, as we're slowly trying to bring this game back and see if we can't pull a win out of this crazy ass Westfield game that really had no business even contesting for a win with how this started. We probably could have been dead, if I'm all honest. And we were trying to be a little sneaky, trying to use that concealment factor. But this is when I only had about, I think about three perks in this crew at this point. So, it's a little lackluster in the camo department so far. I only had about, like, I think 6 Sense Brothers in Arms and the Snake Eye, or the Snake Bite, Snake Bite perk in this, and maybe repairs. So I didn't really have much in the term of camo or anything like that this game. But now I have a pretty decent crew on this, or in the Tier 9 now technically. You may not see these tanks, the Tier 7 and then the Tier 8 tomorrow for a little bit, because I only have one crew, and that crew's eventually going to end up in the Manticore. But eventually I will get a crew in all 4 of these tanks. I'm going to eventually try to 3-mark them, I think, just because it gives me something to do, and you guys can enjoy my suffering a little bit with some of these amazing DPM machines. So, give myself something to kind of work on once I'm finished grinding the line, which is probably going to be, I'll have the Tier 10, I'd imagine, maybe tomorrow even. with how fast I'm going through it with XP boost on. So if you're really debating about what to grind right now, because this week there's a couple things you could do, Leopard 1 or like the Manticore, I'd probably say definitely get get the Leopard 1 first. And if you already have that, okay, then maybe grind these. But yeah, they still need some loving in terms of what needs to be buffed on them. Like I said, I think probably a good reload rate of fire buff on these would probably do the trick. I don't think they should be super fast or any more mobile than they are. That's not really their role again. But the rate of fire is kind of disturbingly how bad it is compared to some tanks, at least when I was playing it. So yeah, a little extra DPM would be nice, at least for me. So, but we've managed to bring this game back even with our 135 alpha and startlingly low DPM of around, like, I think it's like 1600. It's really bad. To a 3v3, 2v3, 2v2. Sorry, a lot just happened there. And now what we have to do is hopefully pick off the arty. We spot him. We had the bush in front of us, or the tree. He's never going to see us through a tree. And we're going to finish him off for our 5th kill. And now all that's left to do is pick off the last artillery piece and hopefully pick up our top gun and walk on home to the garage with an ace tanker and a victory, hopefully. So, hopefully it gives you a fairly good idea about what I think about these tanks. Again, not the best, but I'm enjoying playing just because it's something fresh and new to the game. I'm at a point where I play where I don't have much left to grind that I really want to grind. So, yeah, these aren't the best. I'm not going to complain about it too much. It is what it is. Not much I can do about it as a single person. Kind of is what it is at the moment. Hopefully, maybe they get buffed. Maybe they won't. There's no point in just complaining about it all the time. I really wish, I don't know. Just gotta keep that attitude going. So, I did pick up 6 kills for the top gun. Just shy of 3,400 damage, actually, which is not bad for this little thing. And again, the increased ammo load, I'm helping out there just a little bit in the end. Otherwise, we would have ran out. But even sometimes that ammo load that buff didn't quite help the tier 8 totally. But we'll get to that tomorrow. With the LHMTV. Please give me a better name for that tank. But yeah, tomorrow we're looking at the tier 8, and I'll be playing the tier 9 and 10 hopefully tonight and tomorrow on stream. So hopefully I'll catch you guys later, and see you. Peace.